starting to creep up the road. And then it was fast
Well,
forward,
as
and
I
then all of a sudden
say,
it's this deep, and there's a pine tree, a palm tree right there. Next thing you know,
Because
we
I
just
know
switched to palm tree. and above the water.
100
And there was a small house, needed that floating away, with a little cottage, the thing was gone.
I'm gonna say it's not surprising, but I mean, it's just hard to believe that water that high.
For Air Force and stuff that quick.
The ceiling might still be at some fair.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's how many pages it was.
I found out on
these.
They told us where Speedway, how big as that is, looks like a lake.
I love that my son spelled recipe
Now it's
wrong.
on the other
The same
side.
way I
Yeah.
spell recipe wrong.
R-E-C-I-P-E.
Benny's
How does it spell it?
cousin is over right now, not too far, he's
When I start typing it in, I get it wrong.
less than 50 miles.
It autocorrects. It always
Yeah,
autocorrects.
Yeah, it's a wrong thing.
And then you don't change it.
You know?
I hear that.
When she
My
said
calendar
she
always
moved
autocorrects
down there, she
chiropractor.
said,
Well,
"They
actually,
never
it's
talk
typing
much
chiro,
about
chiropractor's
hurricanes
really
getting
not hard.
there."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
autocorrects
there's
to
a
chirp.
tornado to speak of, and then when she went down there, she
I
said,
always
"We have
said
a tornado warning."
I have a chirp
Maybe
appointment.
you're more chirpy after
Yeah,
you
she
go.
was there, she
You
said,
feel better.
"Oh, we have a tornado warning." All
All
the
set?
time.
6 o'clock, we call the meeting to order. First order of business, public comment. If you have a comment, please come to the podium. State your name and address, address your comments to the board and not to the public, and you have 3 minutes. Nope. Nobody? All right, appointments. Haley?
Hello again.
Hello.
So as stated last week when Rebecca asked me, hey, what about Saturdays? So my original plan was to try not to use the town hall on Saturdays. Because I only have 2 members of staff in the building on Saturdays, I did not want to separate them. However, I went back to the team this week and we spoke about the people that use the library on a Saturday, which is primarily families and children. So the whole team decided that they would each be willing to work a Saturday if the board were willing to allow us to use the library on Saturday, so that I could have 3 people working on a Saturday, so that I could have 1 in that space and 2 so that I could have more people there. So if you would allow me to have that space from 9 to 12 on Saturday, also so that children and families could utilize it at the weekend, that would be amazing. So that is what I am asking of you today.
The last time there was, I don't know if there was a misunderstanding, but it seems to be on here again for paying for additional heating and running costs. So is that something that you are amenable to, or?
Yes, we had said last time that we would, so I know the town pays for something right now towards it. Anything additional that we incur, obviously we are prepared to, I don't know how we would work that out. I guess we need to come to some kind of arrangement of what you pay now and figure out what extra it costs, and then we make up the difference. I don't understand how that would work when the time comes.
I do have those figures, and as I mentioned the last time, those have been previously figured based on square footage without any particular regard for hours. And I can give you the breakdown of those based on last year's numbers, which I'm assuming should be fairly accurate. I think last year the library's contribution was $2,560 towards heat. That didn't include electricity.
That's for their building, this is for the town hall.
Right,
So
and I have a
that's-
figure for the town hall
Okay.
as well, which is not going to be terribly accurate because it wasn't used as much as it's going to be used now, but.
So I think that's the thing we need to see. If we look at when it was empty and we had to keep it to a minimum temperature so the pipes didn't burst, how many gallons of oil did we use, or propane or whatever it is?
Yep.
And look at how many additional gallons, because we should still have to pay for that, like, starting mark, they're paying for the additional above that. So can we just do a month-to-month comparison and
Sure.
they'll pay the difference?
The electricity will be a little bit easier because I can actually pull daily, I think I can pull hourly, depending on whether that's Eversource or Co-op. I can see very specifically what it costs when they're there and what it costs when no one's there.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So can we task you with working with the library director and their board to figure out what that particular agreement is,
Yes,
so you can finalize
yes.
that?
I will call you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any questions?
Does this piece of paper go into some sort of official notification because there's a typo on it?
It's really for
It's just
whoever's
for you,
doing it to
okay,
read
that's
this.
fine.
So as long as there's no typo down here,
No, I don't see
We
it.
don't speak it.
okay. So where is the
It's into
typo?
the contact information, I just didn't know if this was like official record or anything. I assume that library is spelled correctly on her email.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I just wondered if it was official, and we need to fix it or not. Apologies.
well, maybe they can switch their email so that. No.
You mean the library?
That
Library, was that me?
I doubt it.
That was me.
All right,
Thank you.
Wasn't sure it was official.
so. I
Just
moved-
testing you, Rebecca.
So I move to grant the library additional permission to allow the library staff to use the old town hall from 9 AM to 12 PM on Saturdays between January 2023 and June 2023 to provide circulation services to families and children during the library's renovation. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And motion passes.
Much obliged.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regular business, town administrator.
Can I ask a question before the library leaves? I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Mass Way bus route change, was that something to do with the library? Do we need the librarian for whatever it was?
The library was affected, but the decision is done by the school.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't something that we needed her for.
Do you need me to clarify anything to do with the walk? I can stay for that if I need to.
I don't know what it is, so.
Do you, yeah,
Let me
do
see
you,
what's on the
have you
agenda.
come up with a plan? I guess maybe that's part of
Yes,
it.
yeah, let's just, I can stay.
Just talk about it.
Okay.
Can she talk now?
Yeah.
I can talk now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sure, sorry,
Tom
So-
was going to speak.
Okay.
to
All right, hold on. What is this? What are we talking
It's under
about?
new business, part B. I just
Do you
don't
want
know.
to just wait for it, or?
6B. I can
Well, I don't
wait.
want to make them all wait.
It's way down here.
We're staying.
Okay. So, last week, Karen Rossi reached out to me. She had received a call from Judith Belanger at the library and a couple of parents. Apparently, right now, a bus leaves Massway and it brings a number of children to the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays for after-school program. The bus company said that they were gonna stop that service on November 1st. So Karen reached out to me, I reached out to the Transportation Division, and basically it just comes down to manpower. They don't have the staffing to do it, because if they do it for Lee, they have to do it for Madbury and for Durham, and they wouldn't be able to cover it. And then some days there are more than 20 children who want to go, and that puts the bus over capacity. So after hearing that, I talked to Karen, and the concern was the children walking would eventually have to come out on the Mass Road, and I said, well, why don't we put a trail in? So we talked about that. I went down, took a walk through quite easily. There's almost a defined trail there. And we met with Andy, Haley, and Karen and Judith. We walked it, and we can put a path in there quite easily, trim back some branches and some brush, a couple piles of leaves and things we'll push out of the way with the tractor, and then mark it with grade stakes and fluorescent paint. You know, make sure that we keep it as tick-proof as possible, keep everything pushed back, and we just needed permission from the board because it is town property.
So can you define where exactly this
Yes,
is?
if you turn left into the driveway of the parish house,
Mm-hmm.
right off the right side of the parish house, they would enter, and then it would walk parallel to 155 to Mass Road, and you come over right behind the library.
There is essentially an old lane that runs through there.
Yeah.
I mean, you really wouldn't need to do
It's
anything.
not near the back, is it? Because there's a path there already.
It is at the back of the parish house, at the back of it'll come out behind the annex and behind the church, behind the,
Museum.
So it goes by
Museum.
the old cemetery and,
no, I didn't see a
The
cemetery.
current
No,
path
it's
you're
not.
thinking of is on the electrical
Yep.
lines,
Mhm.
and they're suggesting one that's closer to the road.
This is much closer to.
Yeah.
So where the garage was? I'm
Yeah.
just trying to envision.
Pretty much, yeah. So when you're driving in, the garage would be ahead of you.
Okay,
You would leave the pavement right to the right.
Okay.
And then it would be a
space.
straight shot right to the back of the library.
So is this just non-snow weather, or are we gonna plow it? What are we gonna do?
Well, you wouldn't be able to plow it, but you'd be able to, I mean, with all the trees there, it wouldn't get as much snow, and it would be easily packed down. And it's a nice, I think Judith and Haley met with the principal, and they were actually excited about it. They would walk to the school, take the children, go behind the church,
Mhm.
right in the driveway, right under the path, and right up to the library.
So the library staff would do this?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, all right.
Me and Judy.
And Karen and I and Andy offered to help out. We'll, a couple hours, I think we'd have that all cleared up and ready to go, marked and
I have
done.
two things I just want to say. One is if for some reason it turns out that going through the Massway parking lot and the parking lot at the church becomes dangerous, we do have an entire trail already in the backwoods right from the field, but it's more snow, I'm sure in the winter. So that's an option if you find that that's dangerous. And the other thing, the only other concern I have is that I totally get it, it's easy to make a paper trail. I would just want to at least extend an invitation to the Trails Committee because it is, just when you're doing it, just in case, just because they do take such pride in all the trails in town. And I think it would be hard to really be like, why is there a trail being built that we didn't even?
Yeah, we'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure we had
And you have to move
permission
quickly,
from the board to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, a couple hours, it'll be done,
It'll be done,
so.
right. Yeah, just so they felt.
No heavy.
No bridges required, because they'd love to put in
Yeah,
bridges.
no bridges. And actually, once you go in off of the driveway, you've almost seen a defined path there.
The other options for us, for the winter months when it's too snowy or too rainy or terrible, the school have actually offered for us to use their library building
That's
also.
wonderful. Great.
So we've got this option of using the trail when the weather's good, when we can get the kids to us, but they've said, okay, on those times where we can't. So we have this partnership where we can do either or. So as much as we can get them to our building, then we've.
And we
have
talked a
done
little bit about you could decorate the trail along the way for the kids, during Halloween or whatever, yeah.
Haley had mentioned that she had one of the safety ropes.
I just ordered two, they just came today. So we have the
For walking the children
double
as a
safety
group.
ropes.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And obviously we need parental consent, there's lots of steps to it. This is step two, we spoke to you guys, we spoke to the school, it's kind of a multi-stage process, so
Okay.
parental consent would be the next stage.
All right. Sounds good. So I move to give the library?
Sure.
Is this
We'll do it for the library.
library permission to create a trail from behind the parish house to the library through the woods? I don't know what else we would need.
That's it.
I second. Yep, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for problem solving.
Think you need me at all while we're back on the road? So, thank you.
All right. Yes.
Apologies, Andy.
She offstaged you. All right, back to the town administrator.
Okay, the first thing I had up is the financial software and the finance officer position. I did draft language for a motion if the board is so inclined. I am somewhat concerned because we're in October and I need to start advertising for a person and also need to figure out exactly what we're going to do. The motion that I put together was to authorize the town administrator to purchase the MTS financial software in an amount not to exceed $58,300 and enter into an employment agreement with MRI to provide the finance officer or finance officer services.
My issue with this is how we're going to pay for it. And we need to look at, and that's why I was trying to see if we could get a financial planning tool meeting, because that's the only, well, probably the best source of funds to do that, but we haven't had that meeting yet. So that's my concern.
Yeah, I think, when I look at the budget, clearly the best place to do that would be with some of the ARPA funding that's left, and that would likely mean not doing something like building the salt shed. I will say that Mr. Bullock and I had a conversation with the Rye DPW director last Friday about Rye's salt shed, because they just built a new salt shed, which is a great version of exactly what we'd like to see. And for some reason, Steve and I had it in our head that they had paid about $75,000 to build that shed, and the director laughed and said, no. He said, we paid about $200,000 to build that shed. So we thanked him for his time. And
So
individual,
we already know we can wait on that. We already know there's some time, and this is something we can't wait on. So I think that even with the financial planning tool, it makes sense to go forward with the crisis that is in front of us and then figure out the salt shed down the road.
The wheels are turning.
I know.
She's just making sure she's checking all the, crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
So I feel like when I asked you about the money for how much we were gonna save by not having a full-time person, all of that was gonna get eaten up by the contract with MTS.
The
correct?
first year contract, yes, very much so.
Okay, including the benefits, all of that stuff. There's no extra money we can put towards this somewhere.
There's a small savings.
Is it decrease the price over time?
Yes, there's an implementation fee in these contracts that is very steep upfront. Your annual license is much less. I think the annual license is.
Yeah, you save money years 2 through.
Well, on the
whatever.
software, but I meant on the person. So we're
Yeah.
replacing the current financial officer with their services. Do we save any money in that line?
You do, but I would still want to hire a full-time person, more of a bookkeeper.
So the half-time person that we pay right now, all of that money's gonna get eaten up by their financial
The
services.
first year, it will, yes.
So there's no extra.
In ensuing years, you'll see a very definite savings, but not the first year with the implementation fees.
Especially when we go through this transition.
That's gonna be expensive regardless of how we do it.
If we need to, I can schedule an FPT meeting.
I feel like we have to,
Well, we wouldn't start implementation until after the finance officer left, though.
We have.
No, we have to start
move on.
before.
We'd have to start fairly soon.
So
Even if we get on the books. still.
you run them parallel? What would you do?
I think you would have to for at least 30 days to get this transitioned. MRI has transitioned from Tyler programs before. Fairly comfortable that they can do it, and do it, particularly if we had their person as a contracted services person. And that would probably be, I would think December 1st would not be a bad idea.
So I hear 1 for, 1 still thinking about it.
I'd hoped that we'd save some money on the,
Well, you would year 2, 3,
Employment.
4, whatever, but
The implementation fees are just about exactly what Tyler was in 2004.
well, that's the nut that I'm concerned about. So I would want to look at the financial planning tool, and if we're not doing the salt shed, we need to discuss that and make sure that that's postponed. 'Cause that's 75?
well,
I think on the FPT, we had planned about in the vicinity of 75,000.
Well, that's what we allocated out of the Arbor fund, so.
Right.
I think maybe we should put the salt shed on hold, agree to this, and then go back with the FTP and figure out what,
Okay.
if we can pay for the salt shed some other way,
Okay.
or what else we can pay with instead.
So we will officially put the salt shed on hold for the financial planning tool purposes. And then we can move forward with this particular thing. So, you good? Yes? So, I moved to authorize the town administrator to purchase the MTS financial software for an amount not to exceed $58,300. Do I have a second?
second? Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
I have a second anyway.
Let's not fight over seconds. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Second, I move to authorize the town administrator to negotiate and enter into an employment agreement with MRI to provide a finance officer for the town of Lee. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
No.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So also in this whole thing, it's not on the motion here, but you, excuse me, will work up a job description? For a
Yes.
bookkeeper, we used to have one, but probably you need to redo whatever that is.
I have a couple of sample ones.
Is the thought, and this is a question, not an instruction, is the thought to see if you can hire somebody before the finance officer leaves, I assume, or not?
That would be my thought, yes, and I am, to my mind, unless MRI or Denise kick me, some overlap in December is going to be needed.
But right now we have the finance officer leaving, but we also have the part-time, what is her title?
Accounting assistant,
But she's not leaving that role until at least March.
that's her plan.
So we would have a bookkeeper and a part-time finance assistant
Yep,
at the
and
same
then-
time.
I would think that might be needed to make this work, just because Liz is very experienced with what's been going on in Lee. I don't know how long she's been here, but 7, 8 years?
Something like that.
4? I don't think that would hurt us, other than paying her, but.
Do we think that if it turned out that the switch went well and was faster than we thought, there have been calls from other departments that desperately need help with it? And could we offer for someone to help them while we're kind of overstaffed?
Yes, we certainly could, and that's one of the things I've talked to Liz about, and Liz was very upfront with me. She said, my primary concern is that I still have a job. She said, I will.
She could help, because she'll know all the other, yeah.
And Liz does very much run interference on payroll and work with Denise on various aspects of that too. I think she could certainly, and actually, we've moved her into some DPW things. She does a little bit of sort of pre-bill sorting that right now to make things go, so.
Does this software interface somehow with ClerkWorks and the program?
It does. It has a.
So would Liz need to know about MTS to do if she gets elected?
I've talked about this with Liz, and she would be fine with MTS. Is very aware of the program, has actually sat through the initial presentation that we had with them.
Okay.
And it will allow us to, I've got further down in the agenda, the credit card and ACH program. It will make that much more seamless and much easier to interact.
All right, so at some point soon, you'll come up with a job description and...
Job description and see if I can get that number down, which I think I may have some ability to do.
Okay.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
good.
The next thing I had was the fiscal year '24 COLA discussion. I know the board did nothing for cost of living adjustment last year. I think we got caught up in correcting some salary patterns, and that got past us, but there certainly was a healthy jump last year in the cost of living that went unaddressed, and I included I'm not sure which source the board is most comfortable with. I included the Northeast region CPI, which is right, end of August was 7.4% for this year. And just want to start making the board aware of that and keep ringing the bell.
Yeah, when are you suggesting? Are you thinking of sooner or for the budget?
I'm putting this in here for the budget.
Okay.
And certainly, going forward too, you don't have anything in the budget from last year. If you felt the ability to do that, might go a long way. Under miscellaneous, I did talk with the insurance company about a proposed granite arch for Ricky Stevens. They have no concern with it being on the grounds. There was some talk of elevating it over the bridge, that sort of thing. And so clearly you would need to comply with whatever code and structure you need to hold 12 tons of granite over people's heads, but there's no particular insurance concern about it. And I reviewed the plans. If it was on the ground, the actual height of the arch is 18 inches, so there's not a real fall concern. Larger children might get stuck under there trying to crawl on the ground.
Okay.
That'd be a really fun piece.
Yeah, so I don't, Karen is anxious to move on this. The donor of the arch has been calling her on a daily basis, I know.
So remind me, where do they want to put it again? Next to the bridge?
They had a couple of options. They were thinking of putting it on the ground initially, and then there was some discussion about whether it could be elevated and put over the bridge.
I just don't like the idea of something heavy sitting over the bridge, so.
Yeah, I think on the ground sounds great.
So,
The
but on
board's-
the ground next to the bridge, or that's,
I think they had several places, I
Can we let
believe.
the rec department, is that something that they could decide?
yeah, just as long as they're not trying to elevate it.
Yeah, no, I think it's,
Heads.
I think it's an incredible piece that could really be part of the
So the board,
fabric, and they could really think about how to make it into a fun
okay.
So,
addition.
So you'd like the rec department to
yeah,
think about
Do you
so,
think? I mean, I feel like they're better equipped
That's fine,
That's
we
fine.
are meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, and then you could have some different ideas.
task them with bringing forward what they want to do with it,
Okay.
please.
What they want to do, and the board would prefer to see it not suspended overhead.
This board member would prefer not to see it
I'd
suspended.
like to
I
see
don't-
it used and have it in a place where people can enjoy it.
So you want them to come back again?
With a proposed where they want
Yes.
it,
With a specific proposal. Yep.
and if there's any costs associated with whatever they're trying to do.
And I don't believe there is any cost at this time.
Okay.
The other miscellaneous thing I had, which I'm going to come back to, that's the revision contract. I was not able to get in contact with Mr. Fournier. I did get in contact with some other people. Essentially, what's available is the municipality being able to get the 30% federal credit that up until now only private firms have been able to get. And potentially, if we either had the money to do our own solar project, or the folks at Revision said that some communities have local donors who have stepped up and they have changed their agreements, similar to ours, from interested people in the community with deep pockets who want to promote solar. So if we have investors that want to go, or if we have donors that want to go, or if we have extra money, we can certainly do something on our own, own the solar hardware much quicker, right from the get-go, and get a 30% credit from the feds, possibly higher if we qualified as a low-income area. If we agreed to, there are a couple other caveats. If you use all domestically produced materials, you get an additional 10%. If you agree to certain labor standards and pay scales, you get an additional 5% on top of that.
So I spent a lot of time looking into this as well. Just so you know, the law hasn't even been written yet and won't be until 2023. We are right now at the very front of the queue of the line to get solar placed, which means we start saving money and making our own energy very soon. The line that we would step out of, that we're in the front of, is already huge, and the line that's about to happen, because municipalities can do this, is, I've heard, 4 times longer from what people are getting in information and requests right now. So I'm very concerned about stepping out for the second time with Revision, who would ultimately be who we want to work with, burning that bridge and losing the ability. Solar is incredibly popular. It's very incredibly high demand and very hard to get a hold of. So this makes me incredibly nervous to try to, what we're going to do is try to save some money down the road on solar, when we could actively be saving money now that I think would be more than we'd save down the road, and we don't even know if we'll be able to get it. Right now we have it right here, ready to go.
Well, I don't think we're saving that much. You're doing a solar project, but you're not saving that much, but it's 30% of the 120,000, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
So plus those other percentages possibly, that's almost 50%, so we'd be saving $60,000.
But we save that exact same amount later because they charge us that much less when we take over.
We're not saving $60,000, I'm sorry, I disagree with you.
No, the people that are investing,
Yep.
invest and buy it at full price.
Yep.
Then after they have had it, we buy it at the reduced price,
Which is a little over
Minus-
100,000.
minus what they had gotten the only place we lose money, and I'm very aware of this, is when we are currently making solar until we buy the array. They're making money on the we're selling back. That amount of money is not worth it to me to not have solar for the next several years. I mean, it could be 3 or 4 years that we're still not paying for electric at the transfer station, which is an actual number, and we're still getting a greatly reduced
We're
rate.
paying electricity on the transfer station with the solar array. We're buying it from the company, so we're still.
No, everything that's used at the transfer station is included, and then everything that we use, and then everything after that we sell back to the grid, we get at a much reduced rate, which is, right now, while energy is so incredibly expensive, makes no sense. Yes, everything.
That's my understanding, that the
Yes.
transfer station is
It's-
paid for.
It's only what we use
Their electricity,
extra.
it's the excess.
Yes. So we'll be not having that bill anymore for the
Well,
transfer station.
That's not what I
what
remember.
understood either.
That's
Whatever
not
amount
what I
you're
understand
using.
either. So I'm sorry, I disagree, because there's a charge in there. We're gonna be buying electricity from this provider.
Correct, for
At a
like the
certain-
public safety complex, for anything, what we use within there is paid for by the array, which is why we wanted it here, not there, because we use more energy here. Because that is, and I don't know if anyone
But
knows
that-
the terms for this.
That is co-op, this is Eversource. You can't split those two. You can't go from one provider to the other. It doesn't work that way.
I am trying to.
Right. You're right.
My understanding is it was the transfer station, it wasn't this building because of
Yes.
exactly what.
Yeah, because this is, and that's why it's a bummer, because we still have to pay for energy, even though we're making energy there. But that is the difference, is that anything that goes through. Does anyone else have solar that's done this? Does it can explain how that works? I've gone through it a million times.
I do, but we,
Do
you
you pay,
want to know what my last electric bill was?
what?
$13.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay.
36 here.
Yeah, so the solar makes a huge difference. And you're not paying to get the energy back. You're paying just to have the service, right? And whenever you need energy that you're not producing it.
Well, yeah, we installed it, we we didn't lease it, but we sell some back, we're Eversource, and we sell some back to Eversource, yeah.
And the laws are changing right now, and they're working on this to make that, the amount you sell it back for at a better rate, because you get it at kind of a really unfair rate right now. So that's actually gonna change, which would actually start saving us money faster. So if we're, again, as
But
the
that's-
rules change,
That's not what the agreement says.
Yeah, I think we still buy it at
right,
11
during the-
cents,
Yeah.
11.7 cents per kilowatt hour for the transfer station as well.
Right, so we have, well, for the, I don't remember seeing that. So we-
Purchaser shall purchase from seller, and the seller shall sell to purchaser all of the electrical energy generated by the system during the initial term and any additional terms followed. So, electric energy generated by the system will be delivered to the purchaser at the delivery point.
Maybe, is that for the first 5 years then, and then once we buy it back, then we don't have to pay for
Yes.
energy? Maybe?
Yes.
All right, that's fair.
I believe
I
that's
apologize
exactly
for
what that
Other
is.
than if we're not producing enough and our demand is more, then we have to buy it.
Okay, but when we own it, so yeah.
So we're still buying energy from this particular thing at a particular fixed rate. So we're still paying for electricity out of that building, so.
But way less than we're paying right now, and we'll actually be getting more energy.
But not $60,000 potentially.
Well, I don't believe that you'd qualify for much beyond 30% in.
So that's $36,000. So those particular savings are not going to be $36,000.
We're saving nothing right now, and we'll be saving nothing for the next 4 years if we are lucky enough to get someone to invest to buy it. And the thing is, we can be using solar someplace else with those same tax credits if we really wanted to get more solar, which.
Not tax credits. We don't get the tax.
No, I'm saying if you can qualify for tax credits after this law passes, after the law is written, and and then if you can get hold of some solar, then you will, as a municipality, be able to get tax credits now. That's what this whole
My
thing's about.
understanding, they're grants.
This is not a grant, it's a direct pay benefit for municipalities instead of the tax credit.
So they'll pay us back.
Right.
So
they'll give you that percentage back. Typically, it's the same credit that's been available to private businesses. They've
investors,
just
yeah.
made it available to nonprofits now.
Right, but we're still getting that because we're still getting that subtracted from the price down the road.
I think the real attraction of the law change is not necessarily to small towns, but like the New Hampshire Electric Cooperative is very excited about this because they're a cooperative. They haven't been able to take advantage of the credit. Now they're going to be able to on big system changes.
I'm very concerned that we're giving up an opportunity to do the right thing for renewable energy and to save some money. I understand it's not as much money.
No, actually, it is. So the upfront cost to the investor is $230,000. So even if we give 30% of that back from the government, we still have to fund $161,000.
Okay.
The 5-year buyout price is $144. So we're actually paying less,
Right, than if we did ourselves.
except for, of course, we're missing out the fact that we have to pay for electricity. So it's 5 years of electricity at a lower rate than we're currently paying for electricity. And then a payment of $145,000, or waiting, paying the higher electricity rate, and then having to pay $161 in today's dollars. I don't know what the cost of electricity is going to be when we can actually 30% that.
Okay. I just thought we should explore it,
No, I understand.
because nothing's worse than us doing this
Of
particular
course.
agreement
Right,
and somebody coming back and say, hey, you didn't explore this, you could have saved money.
I
I
agree,
do not like that.
I agree.
And I think we need to do our due diligence if that's the case. So I think one of the things that at least we're confused about is what we get and what we don't get.
No, we just cleared it up. I apologize. I misremembered.
Well, so I think maybe we need to revisit that particular document, make sure we all understand what we're getting and what we're not getting. So,
I feel that it's time to sign this form. I feel like we've gone through all of it with the lawyers. We understand that there is a savings and we can get going on this, and I'm concerned we are going to not be able to move forward. And so I really strongly think we need to sign it tonight. So I guess it's up to Rebecca.
Good. I like the way.
it's usually Katrina gets me, so you're always going to be the one in the middle.
She's in the middle of, not against you, just have different opinions on how to move forward.
I wish him aboard.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. Sign it now.
Yep, you can.
I don't know if I can.
Pardon?
I believe a marker.
I already made
No,
a
mine do one. Right away.
I believe you'd made a motion previously
Mhm.
to move into this.
Free to make a new motion if you want.
If you want a motion to sign it, that might be clearer.
I make a motion that we sign the revision
Purchase pay
purchase pay.
contract.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
No.
No? Okay.
Can you do the Arbor expenditure update? I think you skipped over it.
Yeah, I have there's no further expenses from the last Arbor update
Okay.
expenditure chart I gave you. I thrown that on there so we could talk about the financial software and
Oh, okay.
finance if we needed to too.
Okay.
The only other thing I have under, and I don't know if you want to take this up under miscellaneous or old business, would be how to proceed on the building, the town municipal office building project. You were going to ruminate over the weekend and
The ladies needed to ruminate. I was already ruminated, so they need to ruminate. If you want to talk about it now, we can, because I don't think I see it anyplace else here.
I don't have it anyplace else. That was your discussion on Friday and
So, Thursday.
Thursday.
They all merged in together.
That's what it seems like the last few days.
So did you ladies ruminate?
Mhm.
I ruminated
Yep.
already.
I have a list of pros and cons.
Okay. Do you want to do your pros and cons? Not really.
None of them are good. No, I think I've already explained my feelings about it.
Okay.
My concern is the switch timeline.
Yep.
And how quickly things have to move, and
Yep.
on the other side, my concern is the escalating interest rates.
But you should have, at some point, since we're in a recession, that prices will go down. So,
I had a really great conversation with some people this weekend, and one of the things that they mentioned was you do have.
oh, can we stop?
Okay.
People in the audience don't know what we're talking about, I don't think, right?
Oh, sorry.
It's also hard to hear you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for letting us know.
We need this.
Right up to
So,
the microphone.
what we're talking about last Thursday? Thursday, we had a conversation, we had a gentleman in from Bowen Construction, and we're talking about the town office building, replacing it. So, there's different, like Rebecca said, pros and cons in terms of what to do. So our plan has been up until this point, and maybe it still is, maybe it isn't, to put something to the voters this particular cycle. We're getting kind of tight for time. Interest rates are up, prices are up, so there's different things to consider. We're supposedly in a recession. At some point, prices will start to come down. Maybe the building will be cheaper a year from now instead of, this coming year. So it's those particular things we're thinking about. This particular building, this fiscal year is the last year we pay for this building out of the bond. So it was talked about maybe if we wait a year, we'll put that particular same $60,000 into one of the capital reserve funds, and we'll have some money saved and then do it next year. So that's what we're talking about, and it's kind of, at least for me, it's kind of like, I'm with Rebecca, there's pluses and minuses to both sides. So that's what we're talking about. So I apologize, we should have talked about, this is what we're talking about, what we're ruminating about, because many people weren't here, or nobody was here on Thursday. So
one
sorry.
of the conversations that I had over the weekend was that when we originally started talking about this plan, the idea was to make sure that all of the, sorry?
Lawns?
Yeah, no, that the ground was ready, that everything was ready, so that one of the things that we could do with the extra time is make sure that we are doing the right things with septic and water, and we can get all that organized. We have an entire year to get that squared away and make sure we have the best prices for those things. Do that properly, and then go ahead and do the building. And then it really would explain why that building would be there, because we have all the infrastructure already cared for and ready when it comes to this other stuff. So I have been able to think about it more carefully, and I do think it's possible that if that's the direction that we want to go. So as much as I might have just rushed, I'm willing to slow down on this one.
One thing that struck me when I looked at both the RFQ from Barrington, Andre sent me some sample templates from similar sized projects. Those RFPs, that RFQ, all included exactly what their boards wanted to do. Delivery method, number of stories, what they wanted for features, that sort of thing. And I don't know that you've arrived at that point.
Yeah, and I will say this, I have had some interesting experiences recently with elevators. So my son is in a many-story building in Boston, and they send us alerts every time an elevator goes out, and they're at their campus. It is almost every other day. And getting somebody to repair elevators, now this is an older building, but getting someone to repair elevators is incredibly expensive and challenging. So that was something I just wanted to add to our equation, because I don't think I didn't understand that most of the elevator repair population is, I'm trying to remember the age, they told us, over, yeah, and like it's really, so it's just something to be aware of as we're thinking about, like, that doesn't mean we don't do it, doesn't mean, but it's something we should add into the cost of the building, that that maintenance is very expensive.
No, we have it here, so.
Yeah, we don't really use that very much, so.
Well, we still have to maintain it, so.
Right.
I would love to hear Rebecca's pluses and minuses
Yes.
to see if they're the same as mine.
I thought I gave them to us.
No, because one of the things that I've been ruminating about, which I think is kind of surfaced a little bit, is if this is an important project, we shouldn't be rushing it. We should be crossing our Ts and dotting our Is, because that's one of the things, if people want to complain about something, they're going to complain. But that's one of the things that we could be vulnerable to. Well, you didn't take enough time to go through everything. And I think one of the things that's important is to get all of these things set up. The other thing it does for us is, this is going to be a project that's going to have to be presented to the public. And there's not enough time to do that in an adequate way at this particular time.
We just have to commit to doing it.
Some of us have been doing this
Sooner,
for a while,
Yeah.
so I would rather we put our best foot forward on this particular project. So I'd love to hear your pluses and minuses, but.
Oh, wait, I thought I said the wrong, I mean, I'm concerned interest rates are increasing. I'm concerned about the bond expiring and then people not wanting to take up a
Yep.
new bond after a year of that. Concerned about throwing more money at rent. But I'm also concerned about rushing something that's so important and the required timeline, and we just don't know enough.
Mhm.
So,
Are we good to put it off? I think we still should pursue our architect and our,
that's,
whatever it is that we're doing. But we can do it not necessarily at a leisurely pace, but be, move that particular thing forward.
Very much.
I'd also like to, when we do have the deliberative session, have a section on this particular thing. So one, let people know about it and ask, people from the floor if they're, what questions do you have that we haven't presented, so we can address those later on. But also give us a gauge in terms of if people are supportive or they said, heck, leave it alone. We'll just pay rent and be done with it. So I think that's one of the things that we never get a good idea unless there's something on the ballot in terms of what people are thinking. And I know deliberative session, 80 people show up out of the 1,000 that vote, so it's not a good sample, but at least it's some sample. So.
Could we at least talk to them, who we're working with, about what we need to do as far as getting things done, and maybe look into some options and things we could go ahead and make happen well? If we're thinking about starting next year, what has to be in place?
I know what we need next is the architect, then make a better building, then you can put out the RFP for the builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, because either if you do design build or if you do construction management, you're still an architect. So.
We just want to use an architect we're going to definitely build a building with, because I just promised everyone I talked to I wasn't going to be paying for architects we weren't going to use. So I really want to make sure that we're thinking about what we're doing.
I think I had some good conversations with Andre about the level of architecture you need going into the process, and he had some sound suggestions that I think would make it very reasonable and allow you to come up with schematics for things like deliberative session without...
Because you don't need mechanicals and all that other stuff. You just need the conceptual layout of what the building would look like and some outside, facades to give people an idea of what it would look like, and also the layout of the floor plan. So. Any questions? We have, 7 captive people. If they have any comments.
The other thing, how much money is it costing us for that building we're using now?
It's $5,000 a month.
It'll be going up too.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't go for a while. I think the other cost we have is my understanding is you have a contract that puts the onus on the town for a lot of maintenance, that sort of thing, and that was a way to keep the rental costs down. But we certainly have incurred some additional expense in the year that I've been here, just through heating and cooling.
It would be really good to keep track of that too, so we could offer that to the public. But I know that months ago, we mentioned that front door. It doesn't close properly, and we're about to hit winter. So how is the front door not the responsibility of the building owner?
I can go back to the building owner and I will involve the DPW director and see if we can figure that out.
It just, I mean, I understand there's some things that we use and whatever, but like, that's the front door of a building.
Most of the maintenance, as I read it, comes back to us, but
So that's a huge expense that we're, I mean, it's much more than that 60,000. Because that's, if you put it in hours, if you paid Steve the hours he was owed, and we actually, you know, all that stuff, that's a.
yeah, we've actually paid, after reviewing the contract, we paid for, was it the town clerk's store
Oh my
last
gosh.
year? We had a number of problems with the town clerk's store that it was clearly our expense to handle.
So the answer to your question is 5,000 a month plus the maintenance stuff. So
Which is a lot.
we'll find out exactly how much that is. So at some point, we're
And the
in
bond that's coming out, how much is that a year?
the,
60.
yeah, 60,000. This building is 60,000, and the year after that, 30,000 comes off, that's for the transfer station. And then those two bonds are totally paid off. So,
That would give us, that amount together would give us enough to pay for the building without really affecting taxes. What we're used to right now.
so, good question. All right, so I guess just to continue that conversation, so let's see if we can touch base with Bowen and see what our next steps are, but just let them know that it sounds like we're putting it off for a year. So is that the consensus of the?
I think we're putting it off the vote, but I think we're going to continue to work on it.
Right.
And I will go back to North Branch and Witcher as well and get them in here to talk to you. So,
Great.
and a couple of these, I mean, we've talked about design build and we've talked about construction management, but there are, there is, I can tell, at least 4 hybrids of those two
Yeah, exactly.
methodologies, delivery systems.
Yes. I don't have a problem with the construction manager at risk.
You don't plan on building something about the same size you're using right now?
It's a
Or
little
even
bit,
smaller.
it's a little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller?
Yeah. It's a 44, John, what is it, 44 something?
You have the lunch, it's not me.
No.
I think it depends on what we end up building, so we're working on that, but we still on what we have right now.
Because one of the things we're talking about is one that's all on one floor or one that's a 2-story. Either way, we'd probably do a basement at the same time. Either one, I would think. But
I can see doing a basement in 1 floor, yeah.
so that's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
But most of the reduction is in terms of storage space, because we do use the basement for storage space. The other thing the board has talked about, I think we maybe even voted on it, is to digitize as much as possible so that we don't have large rooms with just file cabinets in them. So that's another thing that will cut down in terms of the space needed.
Makes a big difference.
Yes.
Makes a big difference.
So, and the other things in terms of the outside facade, something that is not exactly the same as the buildings at the town center, but something that contrasts with them, that kind of fits in. The other thing we talked about is in terms of, there's been talk in towns about, why aren't you building on Stevens Field? And that's one of the decisions that was made early, years and years ago, so that's something we have to look at as well. So the thought is to use the town center's location so that when we renovate the town hall for meetings and stuff, we can utilize the parking spaces for that and the town offices so they can, because they're kind of mutually exclusive. Meetings are usually in the evenings, so the town offices are closed, and vice versa. So, and also when the library is having events, they can use that particular parking space as well. So that's the thought, at least my thought, in terms of.
No, makes sense. Makes sense.
So, okay.
They're not yelling, saying that we have terrible ideas, that's exciting.
Well, they didn't bring their rotten fruit, that's why they haven't shot anything yet, so.
Yay.
All right. Anything else with that, anybody? No? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr.
I have nothing.
Town Administrator? All right. Consent agenda, anything anybody wants to take out?
I was just curious about this barn thing. What exactly is it they want from us?
Yeah, I was a little confused.
Well, there's an application out there, so.
Yes, I looked through it, I was just trying to figure out what precisely it is that they want from us. what are we signing? Like, is it just is it just letting us know there's an
They're just
application?
applying.
Okay, so nothing yet.
No, because I think it has to go to the Heritage Commission first.
I'm not, the board is, your board is the actual
But usually the Heritage
grantor and
Commission.
approver of the easement.
Oh, I
Is this a
understand that.
request for the easement, or is it telling us that there is going to be a request?
Did they complete the application?
Yeah,
I think this is a request for the barn
so it
preservation easement, yes.
usually goes to the Heritage Commission for their,
Blessing before
Yes.
you get it.
and then depending on, I don't think they're gonna say heck no, but
Okay, I think
So they've talked
the
to,
Heritage Commission has been involved.
they asked to do pictures.
Did they put a copy of the minutes in there?
Well, I put a copy of the email from Patricia Jenkins saying, thank you, we're so glad that you
Had chosen to preserve the barn, but
not destroying your barn.
as far as I know, it hasn't come from.
They said that they just wanted pictures, but they're not, their concern is not in destroying the barn. So I don't even know that they're supporting the easement. They just wanted pictures.
well, we can send this back to the Heritage Commission and get a recommendation from them, which would typically be a copy of, the page of their minutes where that was endorsed.
Yeah, and they meet week from this Thursday? 2 weeks from this Thursday, excuse me.
Okay.
All right. So we're pulling out number 1. Number 2, I would like to pull, excuse me, not number 2. Number 6, I would like to pull out to have a discussion.
Oh, that's just a letter.
That's the letter.
So we're consenting to 2 through 5? Are we okay with that?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where you are.
I'm in section 4B, 2 through, 1 is being pulled because it has to go back to the
Right.
Heritage Commission. I'm,
Oh, the very last page of that attachment, there is a letter from Rhonda.
Got it.
that's what I'd like to talk about. So if we can approve 2 through 5, if you ladies are amenable.
I have no problem with 2 through 5.
Okay, so I move to accept the consent agenda as presented, removing items number 1 and 6. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so number 6. We've done this before, and I think it's a good idea. It's going to fall on Mr. Andy's shoulders or Ms. Denise's, but I think it's a good idea. It allows the people that are in the particular deliberative session to understand what the impact tax-wise is for that particular thing. So
Is there a reason you stopped doing it?
we're not required to do
It
it.
was complicated, and I think we did it differently.
You often end up with a higher tax figure. The equation, they don't call it the rule of thumb, they call it there's a catchy name for the rule that DRA advises you to use to calculate the rate, and it oftentimes calculates a rate that's considerably higher than what your actual expenditure
Is that because it
ends up
doesn't
being.
include revenue or something?
Yeah, it doesn't take into account it's based on, I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. It's about a paragraph of what you do, but I've used it for years in another town, and it was always $1 or $1 and change higher than the actual, and we would say that. We would say the mathematical equation that gives you this rate, this isn't likely to be your actual tax rate when you set the tax rate.
Why so inaccurate?
I don't recall exactly why it is without looking at it. I'll get you a copy of it. I actually have it, it's the last page of my budget booklet that I bring to budget committee meetings.
Could we have an example maybe, just so Rebecca can see too, of when we
Sure.
did do it and when we didn't do it, and just want to know what it's like?
Yep, I can go back a little bit and find you some numbers.
Am I management or governance?
You are governing.
So who's management?
I think that's me. Joanne or myself.
What is that noise?
Hungry Denise, the next.
Is that's what it is? Oh my goodness.
Because we don't want to go home to have dinner.
So, and
So if you could check that out, because I remember we did it, and then DRA said something about you can't put it in there. I just remember it was very confusing.
You needed a vote of the town to do it initially. And
Is this what's a warrant article to require?
yeah.
So
So
maybe
if you've already done it in the past, you probably passed the warrant article in the previous
Okay.
year.
So can you check that all out?
I will.
In worst case, can we stick it in the voter's guide?
I think that's what we
That's
did
really
last time,
ours.
right? Right,
You can stick it in the voter's guide and you can put it in your presentation, certainly.
right.
And maybe the warrant just stays the warrant, and then it's...
Yep.
So-
I'll get you some examples. What I'll do is find when you did it, and I'll look at the example, and then I'll put what the actual effect on the tax rate was.
Yeah.
So you can
The
see
real effect or the weird formula gives you the wrong number?
the real effect.
Okay. I think
So-
the more information they have, the better.
So it also, would you touch base with the person that sent that in and just let her know that we're
Working on it.
exploring it? So
Yes,
she
she
doesn't
works in
think
the
that...
Barrington Town Hall. So.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they do it at Barrington.
Oh, I do have one other thing. We are in the process of gearing up for tax rate setting, and we did get the MS1 back today, which if you are agreeable to signing, I will upload to the DRA. We uploaded the 535 previously. That should be approved tomorrow or Wednesday, and I'll get you copies of that for your review, and also the 434 with the revenue figures. That should come back, I would think, Tuesday or Wednesday too, and I'll send you a copy of that.
After that, what do we still need to set the rate?
That should take care of it, and we will move into the budget and be able to set the tax rate. They won't set the tax rate or talk about it with us until we've got the MS1, the 535, and the 434 submitted.
So maybe we can have it on the agenda for the 17th?
That is exactly what I'm hoping.
Okay.
And if we have an FPT meeting or a building committee meeting in between, and I've got everything
We have
back.
so many meetings.
Oh, that's the other thing. Do we know the status of the school in terms of their reports?
I do not.
Could you check with Sue and see if they're, because I remember, was it last year or the year before, that they were behind? So we couldn't do ours until theirs were finished.
I think Dr. Morse is going to be at the next meeting as well, the next select board meeting.
Sorry, I didn't make that fun.
The next select board meeting, that like ABC meeting.
ABC. Oh,
No, so-
select board, okay.
He
Yeah.
typically comes and gives a report.
Can you scan this and send this to us?
Yep. Certainly can.
So have we figured out what happened to the agenda on Friday?
I think the box wasn't checked.
Oh,
I mean, it
check
got
the box?
posted, it was posted, but I don't think it went to everybody.
I didn't get it.
Are you ready?
She's just waiting.
I think green's happier to read it.
All right, anything else? No? Old business?
Yes, I couldn't, when I went through the video and minutes, I couldn't find that the board had actually approved authorizing me to move forward with Interware's SB2 government, not SB2.
EB2? SB2, yes.
EB2, government credit card and ACH package. As I mentioned at the last meeting, there is no charge to the town for doing this. If the user wants to use plastic, they bear the responsibility for the cost. If a department head feels they need an actual reader, which I suspect at least the transfer station will want, there is a cost for that ranging from $200 to $600, depending on what style reader they want. My intention would be to give the transfer station, the police department, planning and zoning, and recreation each an account that would enable them to accept ACH fees, credit or debit cards. And more than likely have to sit down with the DPW director and talk about what sort of card reader he would require. And I would also, in the recreation portion of this, I would lump Denise in there for Little River Park rentals, and that would greatly ease the process that she's using right now, particularly when we're requiring deposits. Rather than hold a couple of checks or hold cash for people, she could do this online. But I wanted to get the board's blessing and hard and fast, this is okay to do before I went after the finance department. And the new software will also make this much easier, and it may well hold off for 45 or 60 days before implementing, so we can plug it into the new package.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you have the conversation with Steve, is the thought that you're going to replace checks and cash? Or this is augment that?
Augment that.
Okay.
And Steve has assured me that he is getting a steady stream of people saying, I don't have cash, I don't write checks anymore, why can't I give you my card?
So that would be for all of the departments?
Right.
They would take basically checks, cash, all of this system?
Right. And any department like planning and zoning, they'll have the screen in front of them. It will be on the town webpage. A citizen can log in and make payment and print the receipt, and they'll be able to see it's paid if they want, or if they show up at the planning and zoning office, Karen or Bill can pull up the payment screen and ask for their information. You can also do electronic checks through this system as long as you've got the account number and routing number.
It's just the transfer station where you're kind of outside, you need a quick way to.
Right, where you've got people in their vehicles
Okay. All right.
wanting to enter their card.
I have a credit there because, we don't have change all the time, so.
Do you have documentation
They
of this,
do, no, they
miss?
literally do, they write down because they don't have change, so it'll be nice to.
Put that on your
write
tab
down.
or,
I know.
I do have a question. So the convenience fee is paid by the consumer,
Right.
but if you're going to be refunding them their deposit for Lower Park, how does that work?
Can you hold the
Use
payment
convenience
and not
fee?
send it through?
I think there's a way to.
My understanding is they have a way to do that. That was part of the demonstration that we learned from Parks.
It's like my hotel when you give them your credit card number
Yeah.
and then they leave it open and then if they don't.
Okay, so they would not have to pay the fee if they didn't trash the or if they did, they'd actually have to pay the fee and the convenience fee.
Don't trash the park.
Please don't trash the park.
Don't do that.
All 6 of you?
That we're live. Hi, everybody out there.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
You all set?
Yeah.
So I move to authorize the town administrator into agreements? What's agreements? Are you multiples?
It will be one agreement. We already have a contract with Interware for the town clerk's office, so this is just adding
Agreement.
additional options.
Okay, so I move to authorize the town administrator into a agreement with Interware Development for credit card and ACH services via ev2.gov. Any applicable expenses to be paid out of department budgets. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Motion passes. New business.
We did well.
Who is doing the Columbus Day thing?
Oh, Denise has pushed me to do that. We had some discussion,
I asked, let me go ahead and look at that.
actually, Katrin did ask at the last meeting if we could put that on the agenda, so we did put it on the agenda. And I'm assuming that this is an effort to rename Columbus Day some other day, but I will.
Indigenous Peoples' Day would be my request.
Do we have the authority to do this?
As a town? Yeah.
I guess for your town, when I looked at the research in Durham, for example, they had done it because it was a town holiday. They closed their town hall and all of their services and buildings, so that was why they had change the name.
Which makes sense. The thing is that the school is closed as well, so in the town of Lee, we are having this day off for a reason, so it would make sense to kind of match the other towns around us, and it would be like, well, it's Columbus Day in Lee, but it's Indigenous Peoples' Day in Durham and Madbury. Just made more sense to me.
So it's just renaming what we're calling that particular day, that holiday?
Yep.
Excuse me?
That we don't get, she said, but maybe if it wasn't Columbus Day, which I don't love, and it is
Some of us
Indigenous
get that
Peoples'
day
Day. We were
Oh, apparently the Oyster River
celebrating.
Cooperative School District adopted it as Indigenous Peoples'
Yes.
Day.
Everyone else
As well as Portsmouth, Exeter, Newmarket, Nashua,
Correct.
Keene, Hopkinton, Durham, Dover, Concord, Chester, as of the publishing of this article.
Considering we have
I don't know what day though, it doesn't have a date.
important population of Indigenous people in this area, and that is a much more thoughtful way to celebrate the day. It makes
Well, what if
sense.
I'm related to Columbus? I'm going to take this adversely.
Well, you should wrestle with that yourself about what Columbus did, and think about how that affected people.
Think about what we
That
did
lived
as
here
a
in your
country
town
and
of
people
Lee.
too, so.
I agree, and we need to wrestle with that as a country.
Geez, we're using these big rustle and ruminate
Really
and we're
don't
doing all
want to
kinds of
wrestle or
words.
ruminate. Thank you.
All right, do you have a motion, Ms. Casper?
I move that the town of Lee change the name from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Second?
All in favor?
All
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do have a discussion now.
Motion passes.
Yay.
That's exciting.
So
All right,
we'll put that on Facebook and the e-crier and
Thank you.
various other places.
I
so,
appreciate that.
but the townspeople, that staff don't get the day off.
Well, now that it's not Columbus Day, maybe that's something they could bring up in the
The school
future.
children do get the day
Yeah.
off by
Lee.
virtue of being in the Oyster River Supervisory Union, so this will coincide with their language.
And they actually make it into a 4-day weekend, and it's much nicer to call it.
I was surprised when I looked at that, and they take Friday and Monday.
Right,
It was a teacher's day on Friday, wasn't it?
Right.
yes.
Yeah,
Actually,
so,
the college I work for is taking Monday and Tuesday.
Beautiful. What do they call it at your phone?
They call it fall break.
See, nobody wants to call it Columbus Day anymore, so.
Sandwich Fair still does.
So what?
Poor man.
Sandwich Fair advertises as Columbus Day.
Oh, there you go.
yep.
We will not
Poor
give
guy
them the
died
meeting
in
before
prison,
that.
I mean,
Anything else?
Are you trying to get extra day off?
Um,
Did we just throw you a holiday recently?
Today.
What was the holiday we just voted on?
What?
We voted on changing the name.
No.
No, there's a day we actually added a
We
day.
added,
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, right, so I feel like we've added one
You
new
get
holiday
Juneteenth
this
off? I
year.
don't think you do.
Yes, no,
You do?
we voted to give Juneteenth.
Darn, we're progressive.
We are really, I'm
All right,
loving it.
anything else? Because we're going to non-public. Does anybody have anything they need to talk to us about? Or just, you're here just because you have nothing else better to do?
Ouch. Could you not say that to people
We
who
like
are joining us
having
for
an audience.
meetings,
The
please?
I
thing
think
is,
it's nag
it's
you
very
to
unusual to
speak
get
up.
this many people to one of our meetings, so
I think
I
that-
appreciate you attending, but
I think the comment is, thank you for being here, we very much appreciate it.
definitely,
But
definitely.
did you have anything you'd like?
Yes.
Well, thank you. No, but it was good to, get some of the details about the town building stuff. I mean, I look at minutes and, you guys are hard to hear on the videos too. so-
Sorry.
Interesting.
Just saying.
I think Denise has mentioned that, we apologize, it's hard to remember to, if we're not here, you can't hear us.
Well, and like you turn to look at Scott or,
Right.
and
Oh, let's get head microphones. Oh, I got really loud.
you get headsets.
Yeah.
How does your owl work? Does that pick up well?
Yeah, what it does,
We have it at SRPC, I just
it
don't
would
know.
sit like in the middle, like on that little table, and then if you're speaking, it turns to you, so you show up on the Zoom,
Right.
and
Have you recorded it though, and you can hear people in the
I
future?
haven't watched.
Okay.
I don't know, I've used it, I mean, a lot of libraries have used it.
Right.
And everybody's pretty happy. We've used it for book club,
Mhm.
and it was a big improvement than just having people trying to join by Zoom, people present and then people joining by Zoom,
Right,
because
yeah,
they
of
couldn't
course.
hear, but
Yeah.
So,
but it's a directional, and it's cute.
I know, like I said, we have it at SRPC, it's really nice, it works well.
so the video is not using this audio, right? It's using,
It's using the ceiling.
so
Oh,
no
that's why
matter
it can.
what.
So it
you-
can pick up when we
yeah.
talk into the microphone, because that's echoing into there.
Okay.
I think when you speak clearly, and yeah, when we listen to the meetings, and that's one of the reasons we brought stuff back and said, could you make a motion on it? We can't, if it's conversational, we can't really tell,
Sorry.
but when you're speaking straight ahead, we can
I'm really
discern
not
what you're
good.
doing.
I have to work on that. I've mastered the rustling on my paper that Denise always hates, so.
So we should get those like headset things, it'd be really cool, and we'll just have those.
I can look into owls
No.
and set.
No, we're not spending money on that.
We'll do better, we'll just do this.
All right. Okay, well, thank you. I just want to make sure you're not here for something and then we go into non-public and you're sitting out here. just-
No, of course, originally, and thank you for moving up the trails conversation, so Haley can have
Yeah.
to stay. She's had a long day.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I see she rescheduled the big house, little house, back house, and I still can't make it because there's a meeting on that night too, so. I'll get there eventually at some point. All right. So, we all set?
And we just need to go in under C this evening.
No hands?
That's it.
All right, so I moved into non-public session, New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, section C. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call vote. Katrina Casper.
Yes.
Rebecca Hawthorne.
Yes.
Scott Bugby, yes. Motion passes.
Yeah. Because it's cold. Yeah, because it's cold. I'm gonna get a long blanket. Okay.
A snuggie.
Yeah.
She has a winter coat.
Oh,
You should be outside.
all right. Those are what's happening.
Were your ears burning? We were talking about you.
Really?
We were?
Yeah. And now she's gonna wonder, what did they say?
I know, I think it's appropriate for,
I was wondering the same thing.
yeah.
It does feel colder out
It's
there now.
freezing, and I was
It's
gonna turn it
freezing.
on, but it's too
There's
late
no
now.
bodies out here, so, and then like, yeah.
I was watching myself sit here by myself live.
Really?
Was that exciting?
Is that cool?
Did you wait?
No, I didn't shut up. There we go.
I'm confused, I
Oh,
thought we
I
had it on,
Put the non-public locker thing.
Yeah.
yeah, the red box was on.
Sorry. So
So
you were
it was
featured.
me sitting here going,
Were you making sure that?
I did shut the audio off.
it was on mute,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was on mute.
I told Steve, I
Did you
go,
behave yourself, Denise? You didn't do
I was
anything
gonna say, did
inappropriate?
you?
but every time the lights
The
went
lights went
on,
out, yeah.
I would get up and start walking around and then it would turn on and then I'd be on video going.
You should have just sat over there and made the sensor
Yeah,
and
you're the
then.
sensor it works.
Oh, speaking of which, can we get that moved, that sensor, so that it's
Or a
over
bigger
here?
one, or whatever. needs to
Or
happen.
get another one or something, because when we met on, what was it, Thursday?
Yeah.
It kept going off and
Yeah.
it went off. and
If the
it doesn't-
microphones are on and no one's talking and there's nobody sitting there, lights go off every 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, I will
Even when you're
get the
in
sensor.
here?
Yeah, so
Meeting?
I had
Yes.
2 meetings back to back, literally. I stood up and walked every 10 to 15 minutes, I don't remember how exactly minutes, for hours. It was ridiculous.
So it's supposed to be automated, but if you have to do more work, then it's
Yeah.
not, whatever. So I move to seal excuse me, I move to seal the non-public session meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Anything else? No?
Are we all set with the volunteer appreciation dinner or stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay.
It's been much discussion.
There's much discussion. So how many people do we have coming? Do we know?
Martin and Deb.
I think I have about 50 people that RSVP'd,
How many can we fit downstairs?
How many said
with
yes?
tables?
like 86.
Okay, all right. So as you get close, you're gonna like,
Sitting, yeah,
cut.
I think we'll be fine.
okay.
And then, yeah,
Because there's, at least for the people making food, that's fine, but in terms of drinks and stuff that I'm bringing, I just need to know, am
are
I
you bringing
getting?
drinks or are you bringing fruit salad?
Oh, yeah, you
I'm not
originally.
doing fruit salad, no. No, you have to wait till March for that. No, I'm
Is that
bringing
a
drinks.
Do
Yes.
you like
You're
fruit
bringing
salads?
Yeah, if you come to the breakfast for the 4-H.
Oh, I didn't know you made that.
Yes, did you not like it?
It was delicious. I just didn't realize it was your
Yeah.
handiwork.
Yeah, that's because I put,
In
special
salad?
ingredients in it. No, I'm just kidding.
Like just a green salad?
Yeah. Yeah. Veggies, I'm bringing veggies.
So on the menu is
Did you want to bring?
shepherd's pie and what else?
There's gonna be ham, there's gonna be turkey, there's gonna be shepherd's pie, there's
Oh
gonna
my
be mac and
goodness.
cheese.
Oh, I like mac
Wow.
and cheese. Thank you.
It's great.
And
Salad.
salads, a couple different salads.
Now, do we have a large cake? What are we doing for?
I am currently planning
Oh, that's right, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
a dessert smorgasbord.
Ooh, smorgasbord, okay.
Ooh, I love it.
Do you want to bring water, Sprite, and maybe Diet Coke we talked about?
I'll bring whatever you want.
Okay.
I was thinking about bringing some cider, definitely
Ooh, I like
water.
cider.
Cider's a great idea.
Okay, cider.
Different kinds of soda type stuff, and maybe lemonade too. Could give you people.
Wow.
Okay.
You bring
That's
a
gonna be
crock
bougie
pot and make the
drinks.
cider hot? What you like, shut up.
You can get a Mully spices
That's
and
what
have
I'm
it
saying.
in a
We
crock
could
pot.
mull the cider.
Oh,
Hot cider's
what?
so good.
Hot cider?
That's what I'm
No,
requesting.
no, this is
I'm
low
being
maintenance.
ignored.
Okay, low maintenance.
We can
All
bring our own crock pot and
Can
Mully
I
spices and just
bring
dump
our
You
own
can
crock
cider
do
into it.
that all you want.
Thanks, guys.
Cups, plates, napkins.
Yeah, we're getting on that,
You're
yeah.
getting all those? Okay, all
That's
right.
good.
Karen and I met today and talked about it.
All right, silverware or whatever, that kind of stuff, okay. Anything else? Oh, and the
Yeah, that's good.
tut stuff is
Yeah.
good, you're all
Yep.
good? Okay. Things we have to sign,
Was on vacation for a few days, so.
Oh, yeah. Could have brought those tonight.
how about if you
We'll bring
bring
them to the
them,
next meeting.
when do we meet? Well, we don't meet before the 13th again.
Really? There's no
No.
other meeting?
No, because next week is
We don't have like a million.
Indigenous
CIPs.
Peoples' Day.
Yeah, so,
Thank
You have
you.
nothing?
I do like that.
You have no building meeting or ABC meeting or
well,
anything?
we have to do a financial planning meeting.
I'm not, I'm
Nope.
different this again.
That's, no.
No, there's nothing. The next meeting we have is the 17th.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I rec and planning board, so if you send them with Karen, I could sign them at some point.
Yeah, and I've got
Tomorrow or
CIP,
next Wednesday.
sustainability, like a ton of other meetings, energy, so many.
And I have it starting at 6 p.m., is
No,
that
I can
correct?
just, well, I won't have them ready for a couple of days, but you can stop in my office or I can,
so why don't you let us know when they're ready?
okay,
And then we can make whatever arrangements,
okay.
okay?
Every time I look at my calendar, I'm reminded that it's your birthday on Monday, so happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent.
So wait, I'm sorry, the dinner starts at 6?
Yes.
Okay, that's only like 2 hours after dinner.
So can we do a financial planning meeting at some point? If anything, we have to finalize stuff so we can give it to the
For me, it would
ABC.
have to be before the 20th, so.
Oh, yeah, you're going
That's all
someplace.
you would need to talk about. So,
That's all we need to talk about?
wait,
There's no date.
I'm not gonna go into details about my,
Well, you don't, just remember that ABC just needs it before they make the deliberation, so it doesn't have to be in the next 2
Does
weeks.
the ABC needs the financial planning tool?
Well,
the
I don't
information.
know what they're
But the
gonna get from the
CIP
CIP
needs,
people.
the CIP needs to know what is on there, but
Well, but they're very different
Right.
things.
I
Okay.
understand.
it's just what you take off of what this.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
It's no big deal. Okay.
So, do you want to do something the week of the 24th?
No, she's not.
Yeah, you can, but I can't.
All right, week of the 31st?
Sure.
We're already meeting on Halloween anyways, but,
Yeah, thanks.
Pumped about that.
I have a meeting
Okay.
every single night that week, except for Friday night, but I'll be away. My schedule's really not fun anymore.
all right.
Do we have, oh, you do, yeah.
So, nothing the week of the 31st, nothing the week of the 24th, nothing the week of the 17th. Is that what I'm hearing?
Did
No,
you
we
figure
could
out
do-
whether or not you have, what days you may be more
Not yet.
available during the day?
Not yet.
What about Tuesday, like 6, and then I'll just do the 7 o'clock.
Tuesday
Tuesday,
the
what day?
6th, the
the
1st of November?
The 1st of November?
I'm not gonna get it by you by 6.
No, you're not, okay. So Wednesday, I have an ABC, we have an ABC at 6, that doesn't work, so.
No, Wednesday the
Sorry,
2nd?
Thursday. we have
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday.
So can we go back earlier? What about?
I'm trying to get my boss to decide on the schedule for next week and the subsequent weeks.
Oh, yeah, because you guys might have a Thursday sometime.
Right, yeah, that's
So
fine.
Thursday during the day, I have free until 2:30.
Is that the 13th?
The 13th.
Yeah, I have some things I need to do that day. Like bake a
bake.
bunch of food.
Yeah.
There's the Lee Park and Ride is this Thursday at 9:30, just so you guys know, right?
What?
The Lee Park and Ride discussion. Where is that going to be held?
Here.
Okay, at 9:30.
Downstairs or
The
downstairs?
perfect?
You put it on
Let's
the
talk about
calendar.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just have it on my calendar, so I
Okay.
trying to remember.
it's not my fault.
If we're lucky, they'll show up. They have a hard time with directions.
So,
Oh,
you're gone the 20th, Katrin,
Mm-hmm.
afterwards? So earlier in the week, can you do something?
Yep.
All right, so let's see if we can do something during the day on the 17th, 18th, or 19th.
No,
I thought she's only free on the 20th.
I'm sorry?
I'm only free on Thursdays, I have to teach all day those other days.
Oh.
So it would be the
sorry.
13th or the 20th. And I have,
13th, but the 20th, you're gone, you said?
no, I'm gone, I said I have to be by the 20th. I can do the 20th.
Oh, you can do the 20th?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so let me see if I can get my boss to agree to.
Should we plan on a tentative meeting now that's in the books and then you can cancel it if you can't do it?
Sure.
That'd be-
Thursday, 10:20?
Yep.
10:20, what time? Not too early.
It has to be before 2:30 for me.
How about if we do, how much time do we, oh, that's the other thing, we have to see if John's available.
Yep, and John had led me to believe previously that he was relatively available, particularly during the day.
When, 2:30, when do you have to, where do you have to go? Like, to
Durham.
this? Oh, okay. So if we had it like at 1?
That makes for me
No.
funny sense. I don't know what they mean.
What?
Maybe 1:15.
1:15, okay.
I have a doctor's appointment at noon.
How about, can we do it in the morning?
Yeah,
No.
but, no.
Okay, so What'd you say?
It's already my morning booked.
Okay, so 1:30, and I'll just leave at 2:30, and we'll just figure it
Yeah,
out.
it'll just have to be.
Well, if we need an hour, and I don't think we need any more than an hour.
Okay.
Great,
So
so 1:30 to
Tentatively
2:30.
1:30.
Right, 1:30 here. So can you post it, please, Denise?
And then if you can't do it, you'll let us know.
October 20th at 1:30 in the Public Safety Facility, second floor.
Yeah, so
Financial
you,
planning tool.
will you speak with Mr. Tappan? See if that's, and then we'll do him, and then we have a meeting again that night at 6?
Yes. Because this is how we like to spend the day before I leave.
Yep.
Yay.
So that's public safety, public works, highway, transfer station, solid waste.
Okay, but we don't have another one until then.
No, you've got one, yes, you're correct.
Okay. Make sure I'm reading my calendar right.
So
Next
we
one's 27th.
as a group are not meeting again until the 20th? No, the
No,
17th? Wow. look at that.
17th.
I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
I know.
No, well, the 13th.
We'll see you such on the 13th.
Oh,
so
at
it's
the
just
volunteers.
Social.
Did you want a big cake? Because I was thinking a smorgasbord would be.
I was just thinking dessert.
Okay, there'll be dessert.
I think a smorgasbord is my
I just
favorite
made
idea
pumpkin.
ever.
Pumpkin what?
I'm making pumpkin cupcakes with cinnamon frosting.
Yes,
Okay.
you are. That is a fabulous
It's
idea.
fall.
Good. I forgot that you were volunteering for that.
None of us forgot. We're all pretty excited about
Okay,
it.
well,
I'm making almond cookies.
Are there brownies in here for Denise?
okay.
Brownies?
Lots of, I think she's politicking. She's lobbying for
There shall
brownies.
be brownies.
Oh my goodness. All
I
right.
think I even asked you what you wanted.
I apologize to everyone watching this meeting because that was very boring.
Right.
We should probably wrap it up.
Anything else? No? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Oh, you're doing that? Do you have to get back in here?
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, I thought we were getting it early, but then half an hour. I don't know.
Excellent.
Well, we can leave the other room to 45.
I know, I was so excited.
It's actually like in 12 minutes.
I still have to do it.